Sorry I missed you earlier. Okay, so my book is called Nobody's Jackknife, and it came from a project I started when I was writing my doctoral dissertation, because of course you have to think of other things to do besides actually write the dissertation, right? So in 1992, how's that? Is it pretty clear? Okay. In 1992, I stopped drinking. It was not working out for me. And later on, I was at a party with a friend who said, "Are you okay? Do you feel comfortable being at a party where everybody's drinking?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I really like it." Because I do. I actually enjoy myself more at parties when I'm not involved in my drinking thing. You know, I'm thinking about filling my cup, whether it's last call and all of that. So, but I did say to that friend at the time that the closest I got to a buzz anymore was through yoga, which made me think, oh, okay, let me try this thing. So I made a list of all of the yoga postures that I could think of. And then I made another column and listed all the alcoholic beverages I had ever had or wanted to have that I associated with those yoga postures. So it was very, very associative, obviously. Like the plow posture, how many of you have done some yoga? The plow for me was clearly rolling rock beer. A headstand was clearly a martini. And on it went. Not long into the project, I found that there was this tendency for the yoga poems to be very calm and sometimes abstract and new agey in tone. And the poems about drinking were really raucous and fun and textured. They were the better poems. So the companion poem part of the project I left behind, and I started to mix things up a little bit more. When I finally had enough poems to make a manuscript, I started to put together a longer piece for the beginning of the book to kind of give the book a home base, so that when I went off into little poems about a drink or about a yoga posture, that there would be some kind of point of reference. And so this became a hybrid piece that I'm going to read through. It's called The Locust, a Foundational Narrative. A couple of things about this poem. It mixes my words, and sometimes I bring in the voices of other people. Some of the voices you'll probably recognize from current events. Well, they're not current anymore, but for example, I bring in the voice of Barbara Bush during Hurricane Katrina. I bring in the voice of the psychologist Karen Horney. I bring in the voice of BKS Iyengar, who is one of the important introducers of yoga to the West. So usually you can tell when I'm reading it that different voices coming in. Another thing I should say, and Sophie, you made me think about this when you're saying lease or rent, lease or rent. You know. I made some decisions in this narrative to use certain language, and it was really hard to make the decision. Part of what I'm talking about in this narrative is my coming of age, and part of that coming of age as a white working class girl was that I was taught racism. And while all of my influences were not to be racist, it was there. And so at one point in the poem, there's some language, and in the actual book, I used the N-word. I used to read it. It made me extremely uncomfortable. It felt disgusting to say it. And I thought, hey, artistically, that's the way it should be. Everybody should feel that discomfort. After the past year's elections, I don't really have the stomach to read it anymore. And so I'll just leave a blank, okay? All right, so it's called The Locust, a Foundational Narrative. And one other thing, the locust is a yoga posture, but I play on locust tree and on the insect, the locust, throughout. You do not know where in earth they go and when they're coming back. But when they're here, the world is machinal. The air is full of consequence.